Hello. So next part, you're going to go back up to your group for your layers and you're going to create a layer mask. I've already done it, but it's down here. So I've accidentally made a second mask. It looks kind of like a little camera. You're going to take your brush, make sure that your color palette is set to black. I'm going to take a soft brush and just very gently go over the top of my letters to hide them just a little bit. And that should just be painting on your mask. Just enough to hide the edge, not super enthusiastic, just enough. And then if I get rid of the mask, that goes away. This is a great non-destructive way of shadowing on your letters. Now we get to open the file Bonfire Flames, which is located on the frog page of this projects tab. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to make sure my channels palette is open. First, I'm going to click off there. If it's not open, it should be under Window, right there. You're going to make sure all of your letters are selected like this. See how only 2 of them are selected and it turned it funky colors? So Shift and Select. And I'm going to hit Command and I'm going to click on the green layer. That selects parts of the flames. Now I'm going to come back into my name. I'm going to hit Command V. And that creates another copy of the fire right over top of my name. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to Command T. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Command T. And I'm going to shrink that fire down just enough that it's going to cover my first letter. And I can always mess with the proportions of it, especially if I have a taller letter like B. I'm going to put that right over top there. Okay. I'm going to add a layer mask. Oops, wrong order. That needs to be up there. Put it up here. Want it out of my group. Fun fact, if you make a layer in the group that you don't want there, that's a bad idea. So I'm going to step back a little bit. And this time I'm going to make sure I put it on a new layer. There we go. Command T. Moving on along. Because I don't want my mask hiding my fire. There we go. Put it right over top of that B for Basham. All right. I'm going to turn this layer into a mask as well. I'm going to hide my channels because I don't need those. And now I'm going to get rid of just the parts of the fire I don't need. Not with the eraser tool, though. The black paintbrush. Shrink that down. Just kind of lightly going over, getting rid of. I'm also going and getting rid of any hard edges that wouldn't make sense for a flame. Okay. Next, I'm going to duplicate the layer, which is just Command J. Here it is twice now. I'm going to change the FX, blending options. I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to overlay, just like so. Cool, huh? And then I can mess around with the opacity. If it's a little bit too bright, bump it down. I kind of like it like that, if I'm being perfectly honest. Okay. Now I can merge those together. Command E. And I can do that for each of my letters. I'm not going to make you watch me do that, because by this time, you can go back and watch me do the B again. As you are working, you may want to turn off the visibility of each of the fire masks, because it gets a little confusing. I'll show you. So say I Command V, another fire. As I go to cover each letter, there's going to be a little bit of overlap. You also might want to consider the orientation of the fire. Move it around so you get a little bit of interesting shapes. Cool, cool. I should have turned that into a layer mask first. I'm going to redo that. Now I'm going to turn it into a layer mask. Cool! Let's get rid of the parts that don't matter. And again, anything with a hard edge that's going to look unnatural, or anything that's floating out in space, you don't want. There we go. I'm going to duplicate that layer. And funnily enough, sometimes duplicating the layer can show you where you need to erase stuff from. So I clearly had a lot more of that fire image left over than I thought. I'm going to go over it, get rid of it. Let's try that now. And J, that's better. And again, you're going to change the blend mode, blending options, to overlay on that second layer. Cool. And then you can mess around with the opacity. You want your letters to still be readable, but I also am a huge fan of big, bright fire. Eventually, your name will look like my example, which looks a little bit like gotta find it first. Yes. So I have each of my fire masks on top of my layer. Plus I also took bits from just the fire image and put them around in the background. I flipped them around, transformed them, and that is basically the gist of it. If you have questions, let me know. If there are parts of your Photoshop that are glitching, I need to know that too. Thank you much.